Are you ready to talk about being frozen in time? And now more than ever is when you should be packaging your content creatively and you want to be staying relevant if you feel as though your business is frozen in time with all that's been going on in the pandemic. So let's jump in. I'm Angela Profit, founder of GSD Creative, and we help companies get shit done with productivity and technology. So I know that we've all had a very interesting year in 2020. So let's dive in and talk about creating consistent content. So the first thing that I want to talk to you about is your mindset. I've been in business almost 2 decades, and this is probably the third recession that I have been in. And I don't really see it as a recession. I see it as an opportunity to take a step back and reset my mindset. So I want you to keep that in mind and think a little bit differently as we go through today's presentation. So first, I want to welcome you to the first ever virtual wedding MBA. So if you're running out of ideas, that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about ideas, creating new content. I'm going to share some tips with you that my team and I have done over the past several months, basically to stay relevant on social media, and talk about some photo shortcuts and how to source photo and video. Going back to that mindset, the first thing that I want to say is this has been the time to work on your business, not in your business, because we all have had the opportunity to completely get comfortable with being uncomfortable because it's been a rather uncomfortable time. So when we talk about growth and setting goals, we want to be intentional and focus on our goals. Now, my team and I go away every December to focus just on how we want to create new goals for the coming year. So obviously in March of 2020, we had to completely shift and reset for everything that we had planned because we didn't know that there was a pandemic coming. So the one thing that I will say is be sure that you're not trying to set too many goals, because if you set too many goals and you're not intentional, there's no way you can focus, because I've been there. So if you've seen me speak before, I'm going to share this with you again because it's still very relevant and very true. So there's a book called Empowering Yourself. It's not on Audible, so don't go look for it. But I actually did a podcast on this. I had my sister-in-law read the book because I'm not a good reader. And the number one takeaway that she told me about was the PI. And PI stands for performance, image, and exposure. And so back in the day, performance was a lot higher in order to climb the ladder. But right now, it's very relevant that performance only gets you 10%. Image, which is the I in PI, gets you to 30%, and exposure is 60%. So going back to mindset, quit trying to be perfect, quit trying to say, I'm not going to get my content and my thoughts out there because it's not perfect. I used to be like that, but it's not like that anymore. People appreciate being real, being relevant. And when you try to be perfect, come on, let's be honest. None of us are perfect. No one is perfect. And so you're much more relatable when you are exposing yourself and putting yourself out there. So just keep that in the back of your mind when you're going to create content and messaging for potential clients. Let's talk about the ideas. So here's a few ideas that I want you to consider when you are getting your content ready and your brand out there. You got to cut out the distractions. And I'm being funny because I'm not really a big drinker. I never have, and I never will be, because it makes me tired. And I want to be productive with my time. And so when someone asks me, hey, can we grab coffee? Can we grab drinks so I can pick your brain? No, that's not a good use of time. Stepping back and working on yourself and your own brand is the best use of time for your future, Now, if it is something that you're going to gain value from, where you can add value and get value, then absolutely it could be a good fit and you could say yes. So I want you to start off by thinking you've got to create a plan. You are doing something every day, even if it's not your norm, you're doing something that somebody can relate to. So whether it's homeschooling your kids, working from home, share what you're doing. I know me personally, I kind of fell off social media for a little bit when the pandemic first started because I'm like, it's not really fun to say, well, I'm going from this desk now to my kitchen counter, and then I got a treadmill desk. And what's so exciting about that? But what was so exciting is my team and I were pivoting, and we were working on some very large digital events that we wanted to share. However, as we were building it, I really didn't think that it was like share worthy, because to me, it's like I was just sitting in 3 different places in the same room pretty much all day, every day. But let me tell you, I was so much more productive. And so, again, if you're already doing something, share it. It's okay. I even started learning how to cook. I started a new Green Chef meal plan. So I started to record my content. I've got to do it anyway. I got to cook. Everybody's got to eat. So why not share what you're already doing? And also, it might bring inspiration to somebody else. And you know what? If you're doing a hobby or doing something that's a little bit out of your norm that you're not doing every single day in your business, that's okay. This is an opportunity for the outside world and potential consumers to get to know who you are and how you pivot based on a pandemic. And there's nothing wrong with sharing what you're already doing. Now, one thing that I do want to say, don't compromise your image, your rates, because although we were somewhat in a pandemic, your bills don't change. Everything that you are already doing, you're still doing it typically. So don't compromise anything, because you are still amazing and business is going to come back. So I know a lot of people actually have asked me, should I alter my prices? Should I alter my packages? Well, you definitely want to reframe and do what your audience is asking for. So for example, if they're asking you to do smaller events or smaller weddings, absolutely, that's fine. But in terms of the prices and the investment, it's still the same amount of work. So be sure that you are still remaining profitable and not cutting yourself short. Now, if you're not out there on social media communicating on a consistent basis, I promise you that people will make things up about your brand. So, just an idea. This is where you want to create a consistent message that you're not going out of business, you're not going anywhere, and let people know what you've pivoted to and what you're doing differently. Now, if you decided, the best thing is for me to take a year off, close my business, reevaluate, tell people what you're doing so that they don't create a narrative and a story about you and your company that is completely not true. I've seen this a lot since March because people just went quiet. So the first thing that I've seen that a lot of people haven't done, they haven't updated their website with the keywords. So if you're doing digital events, if you're doing virtual events, if you're doing mini moons, whatever those keywords may be, you want to make sure that you're updating it on your website. And more importantly, make sure you go in on the back end. If you're on WordPress, Wix, Weebly, Squarespace, make sure that you fill in the SEO words. So then when people are searching for what they're looking for based on the new keywords, they can find you. So for example, we updated some of our content to say virtual, mini, small, intimate. Again, I know it seems so basic, but these are the things that really can go a long way. Now, there is nothing wrong sharing old content. So for some crazy reason, you're not feeling it, you're not doing anything, then at the very least, reshare old content And there's nothing wrong with it. Wash, rinse, repeat your content. If it's something that you did a year ago, you can simply say, this is something that we did. We're still inspired by it. We're looking forward to getting back to it, and put together a strategy based off of your old content. And I know I've already mentioned this, but I want to mention it again. You've got to be relatable. You can't act like you're perfect and you got it all together, because none of us are. And so you want to be relatable. You're not perfect. And don't pretend to be perfect. I cannot stress that enough. Now, you want to put together a strategy, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today and talk about the consistency of putting a strategy together. So, for example, I want to talk about 3 things now. So, the strategy on social is going to be talking about doing virtual and digital events. We're going to be talking about e-commerce, because that is something that a lot of clients, new clients, have been coming to us for, because they don't know how to make money online. And so now more than ever, if you have some type of a product or knowledge that you want to share, again, now more than ever, people want to know, how can I capitalize off of that? How can I make money off of that? And that takes a strategy. And the third thing that we're talking all about is productivity, technology, iPhone tips. How can you use your iPhone to be more productive? How can you use your Apple products and your technology and your software to be more productive working from home? So those are the things that we decided to talk about. Those were already things that we talked about in the future, but I want you to think about, what is your strategy and what are the things that you want to consistently talk about? These are the obvious resources, but if you don't have these for yourself and for your brand, consider going and getting it. So if you're on Instagram, hopefully you have hooked up your IGTV, which is vertical format video on Instagram. And a lot of times when we do videos, I wash, rinse, repeat on all 3 of these platforms, because they're all video place platforms. So if I make it for IGTV, it's also going to be broken up and it's going to go on TikTok, which I did not have TikTok before the pandemic, because I thought it was just like a dancing app. But I've learned so much from it since then. And they're actually investing a lot into small businesses, and they actually are launching a whole new business ad platform, which has been amazing learning. And then, of course, YouTube, which now YouTube used to only do the horizontal. And depending on what operating system you're on, and if you're looking at it from your phone or your iPad, YouTube will adjust the video. And so again, if you're making a video, wash, rinse, repeat it. Put it on IGTV, put it on TikTok, put it on YouTube. And there are some great platforms out there where you could just do the video once, and then you can render the video based on whatever size you need for what platform you're posting on. And again, you can also use your videos on Facebook, on Twitter. Make sure you put it on your blog, and make sure that you own your content. We'll talk about that in just a moment. So I know that things are moving so quickly and changing rapidly, but nothing can take away creating education and putting it online. Nothing. And so if you're not familiar with sales funnels, then you can watch a YouTube video. We have a ton of free YouTube videos out there on things like this, on sales funnels, creating lead magnets, and making sure there are 4 pillars of some type of education. And we used to could do it for the whole year, and then I went to quarterly. Now I've gone to monthly, because creating online education each month and then batching everything has been a better use of my time, just because things keep changing so much. So if you're not familiar with the sales funnel at all, one thing that you could do is put together a one sheet with, for example, you could do the top 10 reasons someone should book you for their event or their wedding. We like to do pillars. I do 4 pillars around all types of education. For example, I'll give you an example. We've got the 4 pillars to GSD, which is get shit done in your company, like how to be more productive. And so our 4 pillars, it's all about having the right people, having the right processes, which really plays into being paperless, how to be the most productive with technology and software, and then making sure that you were profitable. So just for our GSD sales funnel, those are the 4 pillars that I communicate, that things that have worked for us. Now, again, when I talk about each of those pillars, if I'm going to put something out once a week, that's a whole month of content right there. So when you sit down and you start to think about it, yes, it can be overwhelming, but don't worry about doing it long term. Just take it 1 month at a time. Another way that some people have pivoted with online education is to lean on each other and have an affiliate program. I know that during this time, I've spoken multiple times for the wedding and event and creative industry, and there's been multiple bundles put together where we have all pulled together. We are all capturing our respective audiences, and we have affiliate agreements, meaning that if someone from my audience purchases something from someone else, then you're going to get paid. There's nothing wrong with sharing your experiences and how an educational program has helped you. Again, if you're going to do something with a sales funnel, a lead magnet, affiliates, you want to track everything. And there are certain programs that track everything. For example, we use Kajabi. It actually tracks the affiliates. It tracks all the traffic going to it on the back end. And the other thing that I will say is, if you're going to do online education, you've got to be consistent. Otherwise, people are just going to go to somebody else who can teach them and lead them on whatever you're trying to teach and put out there. So you've got to be consistent. So there's definitely a formula, and you want to think about, who are you talking to? Give value, give a nugget, and then one CTA, one call to action. The biggest mistake that I see people make, and then myself, I used to make it, is that I would tell people to do a bunch of things at the end, and then nobody does anything because they're overwhelmed. So make sure that you use the formula, and I'll give you an example. So if you're going to talk to couples and why they should hire a planner, and then one CTA. So for example, are you a couple that is recently engaged and you're getting married and you need tips on how to plan your wedding and why you should hire a planner? Well, let me tell you a couple stories where, and then you go into a story and you give value. And then one call to action would be, let's set up a complimentary consultation via Zoom or via FaceTime. And you can click the link below to schedule with my calendar now. And so you have a Calendly link, perhaps. Calendly is free. They have a free version. And you capture people to do something right then and there. Now, let's talk a little bit about automation. If you're taking the opportunity to work on your business, not in your business, then one thing that you can automate is one funnel on your website. So when people reach out to you, you can simply have a strain of emails that are 3 or 4, basically. And so typically, if someone is reaching out to you and they're filling out your contact form, it's because they're interested in something that you do. And typically they want to know what you offer and how much does it cost, right? So you want to put together an email with perhaps a one sheet or a nice PDF. So when someone fills out that form, then they get that automated email that is providing great customer service, because you might be doing something else. You might be homeschooling your kids or cooking for your family. So automation, that's the beauty of automation. Then again, you can have a call to action to schedule a complimentary consultation for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, whatever it may be. Now, if they don't click, then you can set up another email to go out 24 hours later. And again, different CRMs have different timers associated with them. And so then you could follow back up and say, just wanted to reach out. Do you have any questions? Here's the top 10 questions that we get on a regular basis, and have your top 10 Q&A. And that's something that I would just make a text email, because sometimes when you put attachments in automation and email, it has a really hard time getting to the inbox for some reason. I think that there's a lot of spam filters out there. and smart boxes, and we can't really control what people are doing in their emails. So be sure that you have some type of follow-up mechanism. I never always rely on email 100%. We have a 3-touch policy: email, text, phone, at least leave a message. And if they don't get back to us, 3 strikes, you're out. Now, I get this question a lot. What's a lead magnet? So a lead magnet is something of value. So again, the top 10 questions that you might get, or why people should have something that you provide. Again, you're the expert. They're looking to you for education. And so with a sales funnel, you can give a lead magnet, and there's all different types of platforms that you can deliver this information with. So for example, you've got ClickFunnels, Lead Pages, and those are the 2 that we have used the most. I like the way that Lead Pages works better on the back end. ClickFunnels is a little bit more clunky to me, but they both track really important information, and then you can retarget your audience if you're tracking with a pixel code from your website to the third party of where you're running ads to. And remember, be sure that you customize each lead magnet based on your audience. So for example, in our contact form, we have a drop down. And if you're looking for consulting, coaching, speaking, online education, there's several different choices there. And so based on what you choose, you're going to get a lead magnet and something of value on that subject that you chose that you're interested in. So when I say customize it for each of your audiences, that's what that means. Now, again, with lead magnet, these are just little tidbits as we wrap up this section. You want to make sure you're providing value. You want to share experiences. You can always do a contest or a giveaway if you're going to sell them something. So again, the formula that keeps coming up is give, ask. Give value, give value, give value before you ask them for something like their email or their phone number or their time. And so there's something that I use to create our lead magnets called iBook Author. It's free on Macs. Now, there is a rumor that it's going away and Pages on Mac is going to replace that. But the point of this here is there are free applications that you can use and design these lead magnets. You don't need to have a fancy program like InDesign or Adobe Suite or anything that costs thousands of dollars. You can really use free apps. Now, we have a couple of different lead magnets that are going to speak to the various audiences. And so when it comes to our audience, we are very much B2B, business to business versus business to consumer. But if we do business to consumer versus B2B, business to business owner, then you want to have specific lead magnets. So here's a few ideas of things that we put together for professionals. And the reason I did these lead magnets, and we've had them for years, we actually update them every year, is because these are the questions that I most frequently get. And that's how you come up with your lead magnets. Is people ask me, what are your favorite apps? How are you paperless? What are your favorite apps? Like over and over and over. And then I get asked, like, how can I market my brand? What should I do? And so those are the 2 lead magnets specifically that are downloaded the most from B2B, is because people want to know, what are the apps that I should be using? And by the way, 99% of the apps we use are completely free. And then as planners, if you're in a planning role, think about it. We plan for so many people, but we don't ever take the time to plan for ourselves and plan for our brand. So you've got to put that hat on of planning for yourself sometimes. And so that's why I did a lead magnet on marketing and planning for your own brand. So let's talk about putting a plan together. And I'm happy to share a worksheet with you all so that you can at least plan out for the first 30 days just to get you going on things. So again, going back to the top 3 things that you want to focus on, and if it's going to be planning, design, and education in the wedding industry, then those are the 3 things that you're going to want to talk about and rotate consistently. And so one of the ways and the first things that we do is we plan our content and we put it on our blog. That's the very first thing, so that you own your content. Now, the next way that we do it is I do a video on everything. And then there's an app that I'm going to talk about in a moment that you can transcribe all of your videos. And then you can take your audio and you can make it a podcast. Now, I know it's not that easy, but I also know a lot of people that have started a podcast during the pandemic because it's their way to educate. It's a great marketing tool. It's a great way to get your name out there, and it's a great way to provide value and give education through a podcast. Now, again, a lot of people ask me, how do you know what to talk about so much? How do you get the questions? Well, again, if you start to keep up with, just start a Google Doc or a note on your phone. Don't start a Post-it note of the 52 most asked questions that you get. And the reason I say 52 is because we want to do one per week. And typically I'll have a theme every month or every quarter based on what I'm talking about. So sit down, list out the most common questions that you get. And you know what I've learned? If it's something that you're not offering, but you're doing really, really well, and you're not offering it, you might want to reconsider your services to your audience, because sometimes you should add those service lines, and that's additional revenue for your company. And that's another way to pivot. If people are asking you about something over and over and over and over, obviously they think that you're good at it. So really consider those things as well. Now, I know I already said this, but if you didn't hear me, own your own content. I know a lot of people have private Facebook groups. There's nothing wrong with that, but Facebook, I have had some negative experiences where I should have owned my content because Facebook changed something, and then I've lost everything. Now, this was years ago, and Facebook has gotten a lot bigger and better. And I know that there's people that have subscription services through Facebook and also through Instagram, but you also don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, and you want to think about diversifying a little bit. And so make sure that you own your own content. So if your head is spinning and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start, don't compare yourself to somebody that's been doing this wash, rinse, repeat. We've been doing it for over a decade. So the most important thing is to just get started. The biggest key, the one takeaway for this section, is to be consistent. If you're not consistent, you will not be able to build an audience. And what I mean by consistency is if you say, hey, every Tuesday by 6 p.m. Central Time, hold yourself accountable. I'm going to release a video or I'm going to post a blog. Make sure you do it. You've got to be consistent. So if for some reason you don't have a blog, here's a recap. You want to make sure that you have some type of an image that is going to represent your blog and name your blog. There's lots of pages that you could have on your website, but give your blog a name, just like you would give your podcast a name. And where to host your blog. I know that there's some free platforms out there. We use WordPress. It's my favorite. Just because there's so many variables, and you can really grow your business by having a platform that allows lots of plugins. And so if you don't have a place to distribute your blog, simply do it through your website. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you don't have an email list, this is a great way to start an email list. This is the time to do it, people, because guess what? Everybody is on their phone and on their desktop more than ever right now, trying to research what they can do. So just remember that if you're posting a blog, make sure that you're distributing it somewhere and you're being consistent. Now, the end of each blog, make sure that you are sharing some type of a CTA or asking for one thing. And so sometimes our one thing is to leave a review or leave a comment. We often ask for reviews on our podcasts so that people know that, hey, this is a great podcast to listen to, or leave a comment on the blog. I know some people don't have the comments turned on because it's one more thing that they have to do, or simply ask them to share it on Facebook or share it on Instagram, whatever your platform of choice is that you're trying to grow. Now, again, with WordPress specifically, you can schedule a lot of your blogs. And so I'll work on mine sometimes on Sundays or Mondays, and that's a GSD day, and simply schedule them to go out for the next few weeks. And then you don't have to worry about it. Again, you want to own your own audience. And the way that you can get subscribers to your blog is to build trust. So make sure in your blog you are giving value. It's so important. And then if you do want to work your way up to getting sponsors, which it's a thing, you guys, you can provide affiliate links and then provide ads and actually monetize your blog. And I know some people have been doing this for a very long time, but I want to take it back to the basics and remind you that when you are creating consistent content, this is free SEO, search engine optimization. Make sure you're using your keywords, which we're going to talk about that in a few minutes if you don't know what your keywords are, and make sure that you're being consistent on posting a blog and owning your own content. Okay, so let's jump into tips. Here are a few tips to get unfrozen with your content. The first tip, have one thing that you're going to talk about throughout, something that sets you apart from everybody else. So yes, we plan events. Yes, we plan digital events. Yes, we plan weddings. Not so much anymore because we have pivoted to focus more on helping business owners and companies on GSD. And so we've started to build community around other people who want to get shit done and who want to be leaders. And so that's our one big thing around everything we do is things that we are GSD. And think about what you love. I know it seems a little silly, but what do you love doing? And wrap that into your goals. And I want you to also think about your time. And if you're saying yes to something just because you have the time right now, just think back to remember what it's like being crazy, crazy, crazy busy. And again, the pandemic has given us some time to step back, reevaluate, redefine our goals. Are we going in the right direction? Is our company profitable? Like there's all these things that we get too comfortable doing. So get comfortable being uncomfortable. But if people are asking you to do something and it doesn't align with your goals, please say no. There's nothing wrong with saying no. Stay true to what you love doing and why you want to do it. Now, if you do that, this helps you stay on target and it helps you stay focused, which this is a really hard thing to do. I have entrepreneuritis, as some people would call it, and I like to do a lot of different things. But each year, we really need to focus because if you're not focused and you're all over the place, think of how your team feels if you have a team. They're all over the place too. So make sure that you are focusing on what your goals are and what you love. My favorite way, my very, very favorite way to focus is to time block. And I'm going to show you a picture. This is our calendar 1 week. And yes, it's blurry for confidentiality. I'm aware of that. But we color code everything that we do. We track everything that we do. And I know that it might seem like a big task, but I did it for an entire year and I tracked every single thing that I did. And at the end of the year, I was able to run a report and go back and look and see how unbalanced my weeks were and how unbalanced my life was. And so the main reason that we use colors is to see what meetings we have, what work time we have, what family time do we have, what me time do we have. You need to make sure that you are working towards work-life balance, because if you're not taking care of yourself, how the heck can you take care of anybody else? The other thing that time block has really, really helped with is it has allowed me to be present. And you don't really know how important that is until something unfortunate may happen. And for me, it was my dad and my sister that got sick a few years ago. And I was not present with my family when they needed me most. And so there's a lot of regrets that I have for bringing my phone to the dinner table and not allowing myself to be present in the most precious times we don't always know when that time is going to go away with our family and our friends. So by time blocking, you can really say yes to the right things and be present. Now, when you are time blocking, the payoff is you can be present. But when you are being present and you're planning and blocking time for your content, let's talk about how customers perceive you and the difference between the image and the brand, because there is clearly two different things. You've got your company image, and then you've got your company brand. Then you can also have a personal brand as well. But remember that the way that consumers perceive you is the image of what you do. So if you're not putting consistent content out, what are people making up about you? What image do you want them to have? And so for us, and most importantly, is the image of a lot of people is, oh, those are those wedding planners. Well, actually, we haven't been working on weddings at all, really, a handful of them, but more so we have pivoted to doing digital events and virtual events. And so making sure that you're talking about those things is very important so that you don't create confusion for the consumer. And you also want to think about why you're doing what you're doing. What problem does your brand solve? Well, with the pandemic, it was easy for us because we have been digital for years. We've been paperless for over 2 decades. We have been speaking productivity for as long as I can remember. And so the problem is the distractions and the noise. So many people are distracted by the noise that they don't even know they have a problem until the whole day's gone by. And what have you accomplished? And so think about, what does your brand solve, and talk about that. Talk about that consistently. And clarify your message. Like, you want to be very clear. So for example, you probably want to change your opening and change your message based on the pandemic. So if you own a venue, if you're in real estate, you want to be very clear. And sometimes we don't know what we don't know. And so I know where I'm from in Nashville, the mayor has been changing things left and right, left and right. And so you can open up by saying something like, I know those of you who've booked a wedding and event at Blueberry Farms, and we are hoping to open, and I'm totally making this up, October 1st of 2020. However, let me be clear. If the standard changes in the city and we are not able to open, we will, and then state what you will do. We will help you replan, reorganize, do this for your date, do that for your date. And you know what? Right now, there's a lot of unknowns, and that's okay. Like, it's not your fault, but you want to be very clear when you are communicating your message. Whenever I'm communicating something, I like to always go back and tell a story, just because we have so much experience. And when I'm telling stories, I feel like it really, really helps other people see themselves in that story. And so while you're thinking of a story, think about, what do you offer? How's it going to make someone's life better? And typically it's like, why should I buy from you? What makes you different? And so when we get that question, why should we buy from you? What makes you different? Well, there's a lot of companies that they've never planned digital events. They have no clue how to build on a 3D platform. And it's not that you can't learn, that's okay. But if you can find somebody that does what you're looking for, why not go with that person? So how we make someone's life better is that everything is in the cloud. We take care of hiring the vendors, and we do everything with psychology. So that's what sets us apart. We use psychology methodology with all of our clients, with all of our team members, all of our vendors. And so our communication process is very unique. And so if that's something that you care about, especially during a pandemic, and having those relationships and understanding how to communicate is so important. So that's a great reason to buy from somebody. So really think about, again, when you're telling a story, what do you offer? How are you going to make their life better? And why should they buy from you? I know what I'm about to say seems really simple in marketing your brand, but be very careful and thoughtful and intentional who you're talking to and how you tell a story. And you want to be very intentional. So, what I mean by that is, for example, we have brands that reach out to us and say, can you help me promote this? Can you help me promote that? Well, if you're asking me to help you promote a planner or paper, we don't use paper. So that wouldn't be very authentic. And my audience knows that everything we do is paperless. Now, if there's a new app or a new software and we've used it and we know that we can be more productive with it because we've tracked our time and we want to talk about the ROI, the return on investment from using this, then absolutely. But be very careful when you're marketing something, because if you do it for the wrong reasons, people can see right through you. Now, when you're executing your message, again, you always have to have a goal in mind, and no more than 3 goals in a year. I know it seems silly. I even questioned myself and thought I sounded a little bit lazy. But when you focus on having one big goal for the year and 3 goals that you can spread out over the year to work on the business, not in the business, you can execute so much better by staying focused. And so, one thing that I want to encourage you to do is set up one campaign, which could be automation, and understanding that you have hot leads and cold leads. So hot means that they've bought from you before. And so if you're launching a new product, you could simply ask, hey, I need help getting this out there. Like, we do great work. We've worked with you before. Would you mind sharing this with your friends? And then a cold lead would be someone who has no idea who you are, what you do, your personal brand, they don't know, your company brand, they don't know. So the conversation is very different for a cold lead, maybe coming off of an ad on social media, versus a hot lead where somebody who's purchased from you before and they know what you're capable of. So let's talk about the formula and put it into action. So think of the movies. You have a character, you have a problem. The character wants to avoid failure. There's a hero, which is you, your brand, and you're going to guide them to be successful. So there's a book called Story Brand, which is great. If you read or listen to the book, it can tell you all about how to keep things simple. This is not hard to communicate what you do, but because there's so many softwares and so many tools out there, we overcomplicate everything. Let's talk about keywords. Now, these are just examples of keywords that you could be using in your content. And again, these are just some words that we have used in the past. We typically change them every 90 to 120 days, especially with what's going on with the pandemic. You want to stay relevant. So be sure that you are staying consistent using your keywords. And yes, your keywords can sometimes be your hashtags as well. Also, think of your target audience. Are there certain target audiences that you specifically want to work with? For example, I was in healthcare for a long time. I have a lot of great relationships with people in healthcare. Now we work more with venue owners, resorts, real estate agents, investors, small business owners. We have a lot of brands that need a facelift. They need a new website. They need a refresh. They need an update, and they have no strategy. They've just been doing it as they've been going. And guess what? That's like all creative people. There's nothing wrong with that. But you got to take a step back and create that strategy. Obviously, we work with families and a lot of entrepreneurs. So think about the industries that you work in and talk about that in your content. You've got your keywords, your target audience, and then your industries. So for example, looking at the wedding, event, hospitality, beauty, healthcare, plastics, dermatology, technology, productivity. Again, these are just examples of things that we have built over the years in industries that we serve. And so I want to share a few tools with you that could really, really help you with creating your content. So the first tool is Plan, Plann, plan that. But you can go in and schedule out your grid, and they actually have a free service, and then also they have a paid service. But this is also a great way to check hashtags to make sure that the hashtags that you're using aren't so overused and saturated that you're not going to get found by your hashtag. The other free tool that, if you're not using it, consider using it, is Creator Studio, which is backed by Facebook. Again, it's a completely free platform to schedule and anything and everything on Facebook and on Instagram. You can schedule your stories. You can look at all of your analytics. The other tip that I want you to consider when you are talking about your brand, and if you are feeling stuck or frozen, really think about the psychology. And if you do not use a psychology methodology on your clients, your team members, on your vendors, I want you to consider starting. So back in 2013, I wrote a book for the wedding industry on psychology and emotional money spending, and I referenced a methodology that I learned when I worked in mental health, when I was back in health, when I worked back in healthcare. And it's called True Colors. So the 4 colors, I'm just going to simply quickly hit on reframing, especially during the pandemic. I am going to do another talk with Wedding MBA called Speechless, when you don't know how. Psychologically, how are people even thinking this? And how should I even respond? So you'll have to watch that separately. But I'm simply going to hit on a few things. And again, there's 4 colors. There's orange, gold, blue, and green. And so with oranges, when you are doing your content, orange people, you got to keep it moving very fast. They want fun. They want excitement. It's really hard to keep an orange's attention span quickly. I'm a high orange. A lot of entrepreneurs are orange. And if you're writing content towards them, it's all about the wow factor. It's all about having fun. So for gold people, they're type A, they're accountable. There is a right and a wrong, black and white. There is no gray. These, unfortunately, are the people that get labeled bridezillas, which is not that. It's just that they're used to being in charge, and they're used to consistently pulling through for everybody. These are the people that you can count on no matter what. And so make sure when you're writing your content that if you're promising something and you don't do it, you're going to lose their trust, and you might as well just move on. So if you say you're going to do something, just do it. For blues really look for the meaning in life. They look for the meaning in events. They are the caring, the nurturing. They wear their heart on their sleeve, and they're looking for that warmth. And so when you're writing your content, you really want to make sure that you are hitting that empathetic portion, because if you don't, you're not going to relate to a blue. And with green, they're the complete opposite as blue. They don't need the warm and fuzzy. They need the facts, the numbers, and the statistics. And you've got to earn the respect of a green before they will trust you. So we write all of our content very specifically, psychologically, based around this methodology, and it's very targeted on purpose. So it's just something to consider when you are starting to put content out about your brand. So let's recap with the formula. So make sure that you have a communication strategy with keywords. Connect with your target audience the way they need to hear it, and consider any psychology methodology. There's a lot of different ones out there. True Colors is just the easiest to understand. And I'm certified facilitator, so it's easy for me because I know it like the back of my hand. Make sure that you're serving people and building consistency. And building trust. Just remember that the more valuable content and knowledge you share, the more trust you're going to build. So the formula is the story, give a nugget, and share the outcome, and then have a CTA, one call to action. And then just remember the psychological formula of messaging is give, 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 ask. You've got to give value before you ask for something in return. It's just rude, as we would say in the South. So let's jump on as we wrap up and talk about photo video, which is my favorite way to get a consistent message out there. And again, if you're feeling stuck and if you're feeling frozen, simply ask your audience, how can I help you? What are you wondering about right now? And you know what? Before the pandemic, I didn't even have cable. I have TVs, but they're for editing. And I actually invested in getting like the cheapest cable you could get. And I watched the news every day. And I watched the press releases every single day because our clients were coming to me asking me, what should we do? How can we change? Can we pivot? Should we cancel? And if you don't have any answers and if you don't educate yourself, then how the heck are you going to share it with people? So the easiest way to get people to trust you is to post a photo of yourself saying something or to do a video. Look them in the eye. Be sure that you're looking at your phone or at your computer. Like I'm looking at the camera as I'm talking to you right now. And so my whole thing is if I'm going to do one thing, it better be evergreen, meaning it hopefully will last at least a month. I mean, usually you want to do it evergreen for a year, but with the pandemic, that's not happening right now. So make sure that you can wash, rinse, repeat your content. So again, if you do a video, you can take the audio and make it a podcast. You can then put it in a app called transcribe it out for your blog, and then post it on all the different social media platforms. And so you're wash, rinse, repeating everything that you were doing. Again, just a wrap up. If you're posting a photo or if you are doing a video, be real and share real stories. Like we have life cycle clients. And so every year we have clients that need us for several things. Now, it's a little bit different this year because people aren't having probably Christmas parties and they're probably not having retreats and they're not having company picnics. And so you want to share relevant stories that are still going to touch your clients. So your clients still have a team, they still have employees, they still have all these things that they have to take care of. So just remind them that you can still help them. It doesn't have to be some big blowout event. It can be something online. And if you don't know how to do digital events or virtual events, you can watch a YouTube video or you can learn. You can learn real fast because that's what we did. We had to learn real fast how to do some of these things. Just be real with people. And if you're anything like me, you're not from the selfie generation. And I do not enjoy taking pictures of myself. But I will say, every time we post a picture and there's people in it or my face is in it and I'm not wearing sunglasses, it just does better. People trust people that they like to see. And again, get over being perfect because the pictures where I post where I'm in my pajamas and I have my dogs and my hair's on top of my head and I don't have on makeup, which I couldn't tell you the last time I put on makeup because of the pandemic. It's okay. Be real. Put yourself out there. People appreciate that. I promise you, you will get higher engagement if you're just yourself. Now, if you are going to do some type of a photo shoot, do consider your brand and think about your background, your clothes, your lighting, and it doesn't cost a lot to invest to do these things for yourself. So if you have a smartphone, which if you have a business, you probably have a smartphone, you can get a $10 stand off of Amazon. You can get an inexpensive ring light for under $50 these days. You can make sure that you're creating content during the day and you've got light in front of you and you've got some type of non-distracting background behind you. And then also consider your clothing and consider your brand. If your colors are purple and blue, I'm totally making this up, then try to wear something on brand. And then again, make sure that your lighting's good. So right now, while I'm recording this, it's dark outside. It's night, but I've got some temp paper behind me that has our brand colors in it. I've got a GSD t-shirt on because even when I'm speaking on stage, I typically am wearing a Get Shit Done t-shirt. And it's a conversation starter. And I make sure that I have lighting in front of me. So you don't have to have fancy stuff to have this big photo shoot. Now, if you want to create videos and you're not sure how, there is an app, my very favorite app called Vlog Easy. And it's V as in Victor, clearly. It does two things. It jump cuts, meaning if you're planning your content, when you're quiet, it's going to edit those quiet moments out and automatically edit it together. Or the other thing that I really like is to vlog throughout the day, and then I can export it at the end of the night. And then I can export it in 15-second increments and then post it on my story and then highlight a few things if I want to keep it. So I'll definitely put this in a one sheet for you all. So if it's something that you want to try out, it's only for the iPhone currently. I don't know if they're coming out with an Android version. So, but it's my very favorite vlogging and video app, hands down. The other app that I have mentioned multiple times is called Transcribe, and it teaches you actually to speak a lot more clearly and pause, so that when you're transcribing your videos, you don't have to retype them out. My other favorite video is Marco Polo. If you're not comfortable doing videos, if you're not comfortable seeing yourself on video, get Marco Polo. There's a free version and a paid version. And Marco Polo, your friends, your family. We Marco Polo with our team, some of our clients. It's video texting back and forth, and especially during the pandemic, it's so much better if people can see your face. Something that I mentioned that I will share with you is a content calendar to give you ideas, to have a goal, a strategy, and a theme. And so remember, come up with 3 goals. The strategy can be talking about 3 things, and you can have 3 different themes and rotate them with your content calendar. Again, I'll show you how to use the Plan That app, and you can simply put your hashtags in there and make sure that you're being strategic. Just remember that trends change every single day. So make sure that you're staying relevant with your hashtags and you're not just using the same thing over and over. Typically, we'll have 30 hashtag sets for each goal. So yes, that is 30 hashtags times 3, 90 different hashtags. We have it in a note and we copy and paste. The other thing that I want you to really pay attention to, make sure that you have business accounts on social media so that you are getting the analytics and you know when to post. Every platform is different. Every platform has different rules. If you're going to put together a video tip series, I want you to think about writing some type of script. And you don't have to script everything out. Like, for example, my slides for this presentation, they're pretty simple. There's not a whole lot on the slide, and there's a reason for that, because I want you to pay attention to me and what I'm saying to you and stop trying to read the slides. But at least it gives me talking points so I don't go off on a tangent. So make sure that you have some type of 3 points when you're doing a video, and make sure that when you are doing your videos that you are saying your keywords. And again, make sure that you have one call to action at the end of any and every video that you do. Something that we do every year is we do an annual recap video. And it's just a thank you. And we always send it out, post it on social media. We tag all the vendors and all of our clients. And I know 2020, again, may be a little bit different. And even if it's something funny, that it's a second of you every single day sitting somewhere working by yourself or with your dogs or homeschooling your kids, there's an app called 1SE. So it stands for 1 second every day. It's a free app. They have a paid version as well. But you can simply go in and literally take a video, and then at the end of the year, 365 days, you have a quick second, 365 seconds of every single day. And it's just a great way to capture what you're doing, what you're about, and thank your clients and thank your vendors. And listen, I know budgets are tight right now, okay? But if you don't have a budget, and it's okay. Again, we all have smartphones. Most of us have a computer, unless you live like in Alaska and it's like that time of the year where you don't get any sun. Like, we all have natural daylight. And so there is no excuse for you not to do some type of content for your company. So excuses are out the window. And also, the other thing I want you to consider is, if you're going to build a YouTube channel, make sure you're horizontal. If you're going to build an IGTV, vertical. And if you want to wash, rinse, repeat your videos and you just want to pick one and do it all that way, it's okay. It's not about being perfect. It is about getting out the message and the content. I want to remind you that if you do have a smartphone, typically we have a ton of resources that are already built in. So on my iPhone, I have a timer, I have portrait mode, I have selfie portrait mode, and there's all types of filters that are already built into the camera app. It's not like you have to pay for a bunch of apps to get fancy. I do like those apps, but again, when money is tight, and again, more this year than ever, we really have to define who we are, what we're doing, what we're spending our money on. And so consider using the resources that you already have that are completely at your fingertips for free. Again, a lot of the apps that I talk about are completely free in the App Store. Make sure you've downloaded IGTV, Vlog Easy, which there is a free version, and then there's also a paid version where you get more features. If you haven't gotten on TikTok yet, just download it. And based on what you're watching is how the algorithm is going to build your feed. So if you like marketing tips, if you like weddings, and if you like dancing, then tell TikTok that. When you don't have to start posting right away, just get a feel for it. They have a new hashtag, learn on TikTok. And we've been doing a ton of iPhone tips and a ton of marketing tips and productivity tips. And then we'll throw in little dances here and there just because I love to dance and have fun. So download the app and just start familiarizing yourself with it. I will give you a notice. It is addicting. So set a timer and don't go down a rabbit hole. It's kind of like Pinterest. You can definitely go down a rabbit hole. Again, if you want to do videos, you're not quite sure where to start or what to say, and you do a script, there's also a free app called Teleprompter. It's great. You can set the speed and it helps you really pace yourself. And then you can even edit on your phone. People, if you don't have a Mac computer, get iMovie on your iPhone so you can at least edit. Another one of my favorite apps is called InShot as well, so you can put videos together. Now, if you don't have any design apps, you can, again, do it on your phone. I use Word Swag to put together different fonts, different colors with quotes. There's an app called Airbrush that you can edit all kinds of things. Now, these are more paid apps, but again, it saves a ton of time. And then there is an app called Quick that I love to put pictures together, and it makes it a video, and you can put royalty-free music to it as well. If you're going to do a video tip series and do videos, again, think of a logo, use your logo on every video. It can be the same image, but you want to make sure that you are being consistent. You can name your video tip series. The latest one that we've done is the GSD video tip series, where we do productivity and show people how to get shit done. Again, where are you going to host it? Are you going to do it on YouTube? You can put it on Vimeo. Just remember to own your own content. So we always put our videos on our blogs, which are held on the back end of YouTube or Vimeo. We actually use Vimeo. We pay for space every year. So if something happened to YouTube, we have all of our videos backed up on Vimeo, so it's not taking up space on our computer. Another thing that I want you to consider with all of your videos is doing an intro and an outro. You can purchase royalty-free music for each of your videos for as little as $3 for the intro and $3 for the outro. So it's very inexpensive. And then you can do some type of a voiceover if you don't have anybody to introduce you or do an outro of you. You can always do it yourself, or you can pay someone to do a voiceover. There's a lot of different websites and resources out there that can do that for you. We always script out some type of an intro and let people know like what are going to be your takeaways. So the top takeaway or the top 3 takeaways. I like to do things in threes. I like to do things in odds. My brain's just wired that way from doing so much design. And then make sure that there's some type of a CTA. Again, if you're doing videos, or if you're doing a podcast, asking people, leave a review, comment below, ask them to do one thing. Again, iMovie's free. It comes on your Mac. You can simply edit these things for free. make sure you get a ring light for your videos, and make sure you have some type of a backdrop. And again, consider having affiliate links, and then you can eventually work your way up to monetizing your videos with ads. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. On YouTube, if you type in something, how to do XYZ, 90% of the videos that we watch these days, they have ads on them. And guess what? People are getting paid off of those ads. So that's something that once you build an audience and once you're consistent with video, it can make a nice income stream for you, especially building your content and building your audience during a pandemic is so, so, so important. And so if you're looking to GSD, we do have GSD Academy. You can go to the website and check it out. It's thegsdacademy.com. We also have a ton of free resources, one of them being our podcast called Business Unveiled. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, all of the platforms. You can go to businessunveiled.com and check that out. And then, of course, on YouTube, you can go and get free video tips. And to make it easy, we have a bit.ly link, bit.ly/GSD channel. And thank you so much for attending Wedding MBA virtually. And be sure to check out my other talk called Speechless, talking to you all about psychology and how to know how to respond to people based on technology. I hope you have a great day and keep your content consistent. Bye, y'all.